The thing about vampires, they're messy. And I'm the one that has to clean up their mess. The nightlife of the city is more dangerous than most people realize. Families of vampires have spent centuries cultivating power, influence, and money to position themselves where they can live comfortably for all of eternity and make the most of their immortality. Many were there hundreds of years ago and helped to build the thriving metropolis, making sure that they would be sitting at the very top, overlooking everyone else. The vampire families look down from their skyscrapers at us and see regular people as nothing more than cattle. They need our blood to fuel their eternal life, and because of their status in this city, they have made it so they can drink our blood and feed on us without most people ever knowing. That's where my partner, Putter, and I come in. We're New York City detectives, so it's our job to help protect the people living here. But our job goes beyond that. We're also cleaners for the vampires that hold the real power, the monsters that need to be pleased and satiated. We need to keep their existence as secret as possible. If the public finds out who these socialites, CEOs, and influencers really are, then the vampires could decide to spill far more blood than they already do. Their power makes them far stronger than any human being. They could kill us all if they wanted, but they need to keep this system in place. Without human beings, they'd starve, and their immortal lives would wither away. It's a symbiotic relationship, though Putter might say parasitic. He gets very glum about it all sometimes. I like to be a bit more optimistic about it. We protect the public from a mass panic. The vampires pay us well for our extra work. Best of all, if we do a great job, the vampires will eventually grant us immortality. They will make us like them, and we'll get to live forever. We race down the streets in our unmarked cruiser, having just gotten a cleanup call from our nocturnal associates. "How bad do you think it's going to be?" Putter asks. I consider where it is that we're going. The Sharp Thorn, a social club owned by Ambrose Cardinal. Ambrose is easily the most unstable of his vampiric family. And that's what worries me. Cleaning up after him is always more work than anyone else. He doesn't care very much about discretion. He never has. "It's Ambrose, so..." Putter sighs. "Right. That's bad." My partner is silent for a moment before he speaks again, speaking just as softly and quietly as ever. "Do you think all of this is worth it?" I turn to him, and he just stares out his window, avoiding eye contact. Putter always avoids any kind of confrontation if he can. He's just so reserved, even timid most of the time. "What do you mean by that?" "You know what I mean," he says quietly, still staring out the window at the city streets. "We do all of this for them, and our big reward is to be like them. But that doesn't just mean immortality. It also means everything that comes with it. The hunger, the bloodlust, the violence. I just wonder if all of that is even worth all of this." I can hardly believe what I'm hearing. "Of course it is. Think about it. You will live forever. You will be the most powerful creature in the world. Not to mention the influence you'll have as a member of one of those families. Of course it's worth it." Putter is silent for a long moment before he finally looks me in the eye and offers a strained smile. "You're right. Of course. It'll be worth it." "That's what I like to hear," I say. "Don't let me hear you saying otherwise again. And definitely don't let them hear you say otherwise either, all right? Just be grateful you have a chance to live forever." Putter nods, then turns his gaze back to the city outside the car. The sun is slowly starting to rise, casting the streets in the shadows of skyscrapers. For us, that usually means it's time to get to work. We pull up to the curb next to the Sharp Thorn. To many, it's just an enjoyable social club, but Putter and I know better. We've cleaned it up enough times to know that it's the owner's personal buffet table. The two of us grab our cleaning equipment from the trunk, the usual supplies we'll need to get our work done. Hydrogen peroxide, ammonia, bleach, things of that nature. The two of us put on our rubber gloves, then go down the alley along the side of the building to the back entrance, just like we always do. Discretion is very important to our work, so back entrances are the usual go-to. This time, there's something we have never encountered on any of our previous visits. A blonde woman is crawling out of the exit door in the alley. She's covered in blood and sobbing. It's clear she's hurt badly from how slowly she's moving, trying desperately to escape, but doesn't have the strength to do it. When she sees us approaching, she reaches out a trembling arm.
Please.
She can barely speak through her cries. She chokes out the words, holding a deep wound on her neck while she spits out blood.
Please help me. Please.
Most people would probably try to help an injured woman like that, but we know better. It's tough to ignore someone like that, but part of our job is to turn a blind eye to what happens to the people that are chosen to be food. That's vampire business. Our business is just to make sure that the horrible things that happen aren't discovered. The woman and I meet eyes for a moment, and I see the fear in her teary gaze, but her eyes just grow wide with even more horror as I pull out my roll of black and yellow caution tape and start to put it up across the entranceway right over her.
Help me, please. What is this?
This is a crime scene, ma'am, I say casually. Please remain calm. Thankfully, the streets haven't stirred awake just yet, but we can't risk her making a commotion in the local neighborhood. Without another word to her, as she keeps choking and crying, Putter and I each take one of her legs and drag her into the building, sliding her beneath the police tape that we put up in the doorway. We shut the door behind us, and I can hear her breathe her last breaths. Once she lost that little hope of escape, she must have lost the will to live. We were her last hope, and we took that hope away from her. We drag her into the main auditorium of the club to find that the entire place is soaked in blood. Splatter covers the walls. Dead bodies sit motionless at their tables. The members of the band on the performance stage are stacked in a heap on top of each other, their dismembered body parts resting beside their broken instruments.
You missed a fun night.
A pale, dark-haired man sits shirtless in the corner booth of the club. The bodies of a young couple lay across his table, and he's drinking a champagne glass filled with a very conspicuous red liquid. It's almost completely dyed red from all of the innards covering his body, and his white grin breaks through all of the surrounding red, showcasing two sharp fangs still dripping with blood.
A very fun night.
Ambrose is known for being a wild card. Of all the vampires in the Cardinal family, Ambrose is the one that doesn't bother trying to show any restraint or any class. He doesn't care about manners or discretion. I summon up as much courage as I can when speaking to him, just like I do whenever I speak to any of the vampires. They can hear our heartbeats. They can smell our fear. It's important for me to present myself with bravery when associating with them.
It looks like it was a lot of fun.
We drop the girl we found onto the floor so that he can see her.
We caught her almost leaving the building. If we hadn't gotten here when we did, she would have made it out onto the street. Well then, I commend your punctuality, boys.
Ambrose snickers, with very little actual regard for our effort.
Do you want me to thank you for doing your job?
No, I say.
I just ask that you please be a little more careful in the future. You are risking the exposure of, I know what I'm doing,
Ambrose snaps.
I have been at this a lot longer than you have. I understand that, but there is a reason that we have the protocols that we do, to ensure that you can live forever without incident. And you being here right now is not protocol. You're not supposed to still be here.
The vampire's smile falters a little and he glares at me.
I'm not supposed to be here? And who are you to tell me where I am supposed to be? Get to work and clean all this up before I decide to give your partner more of a mess to clean. I don't mean any offense, sir. It's just important to stick to a...
I blink, and Ambrose is suddenly gone from his table. His blood-stained hand is wrapped around my neck before I even realize it's happening. He lifts me off my feet with his great strength and laughs in my face as he suspends me in the air.
You need to remember your place.
I can't breathe. I look at all of the lines of blood splashed onto his face, imagining how many different people's blood contributed to this vampire over the past millennia. Considering how many people are dead in the club just today, It's probably a lot.
You are only here to clean up after me. You aren't here to talk. You aren't here to express your opinions. You are here to scrape this shit off the floor and that's it. Don't ever think that we are working together. You are working for us.
I can't fight back. No human being can. The vampires are infinitely stronger than we can ever hope to be. Against something like him, I'm completely powerless and at his mercy, which is exactly what he wants. Still, I refuse to completely submit. I manage to gasp out a response.
For now.
He tosses me aside to the floor like I'm nothing. That's exactly what I am to him. He laughs some more.
That's right. You're going to be one of us one day, right? That's the dream, isn't it? Maybe you will be, yeah. But for that to happen, you need to keep making us happy. Keep making me happy.
With that, the ancient creature throws a shirt over his blood-drenched body and buttons it up, completely ignoring the fact that his shirt is just as stained with ichor as the rest of him is. He slaps his hand together to signal for us to get started. I'm honestly surprised he doesn't have a whip to crack over us. Ambrose is almost beside himself with all his giggling as he leaves. He doesn't have a care in the world, even after leaving a dozen bodies in his wake. He can only be so carefree because of us, but he clearly doesn't see that or understands how important our work is. We get to work cleaning up the mess inside of the sharp Thorn. It takes us all day to make the place spotless and to dispose of all the bodies that are left behind. Nobody comes to help. The vampires don't lower themselves to clean up their own plates. Putter is piling up some of the bodies when he turns to me and sighs.
Do you think it was wise to talk to Ambrose like that? I think he needs to let us do our jobs without getting in the way.
I bend over to grab hold of the next corpse. It's a beautiful young woman in an elegant red dress. She was probably having a fun night before Ambrose got to her. I slid my arms under her to lift her. Her eyes suddenly open, and she opens her mouth wide, letting out a horrible hissing sound from the depths of her fanged maw. That woman wasn't killed. She was turned. I pull my arms out from under and try to step away, but she grabs hold of my arm. She's strong, just like Ambrose is, now that she's a vampire. Putter comes rushing to my aid with one of the buzzsaws he uses to dismember bodies. He grinds its edge against the vampire's arm, and she lets out a shriek of pain as she loses her arm, and I fall backwards out of her grasp, hitting my head against a nearby table. The woman leaps to her feet, and I stare in astonishment as her severed arm miraculously grows back in a matter of seconds. That is the power of vampires, the power of everlasting life. I draw my firearm and put 2 bullets in her, but she doesn't seem to even notice. The vampire is feral, probably confused, and clearly wants nothing more than to feast on my insides. Putter and I may be trained detectives, but we can't fight a vampire on our own. We retreat toward the back door. The woman stalks us, skittering around on all fours and even upside down on the ceiling. She hunts us down into the back of the sharp Thorn, right up to the door that we came in from. We fall backward through the doorway, straight through the caution tape. I land on my back in the alleyway. Putter and I roll away a few feet from the back entrance of the sharp Thorn. The woman crouches on all fours in the entranceway, baring her fangs and staring at me with those wide, excited eyes. She wants to feed on us. She wants to drain us of every last drop of blood in our bodies. She doesn't care who we are or who we are working for. She's too new and far too lost in her newfound bloodlust. I can only imagine how invigorated she must feel with all of her new power as a vampire. I want that so badly. I would handle it much better than she is. Putter points upward, toward the sun hanging over the city. She can't get us out here. She doesn't seem to know that as she opens her mouth wide and lunges in our direction. Her restored arm reaches out to grab me. Just before she touches me, her entire body explodes into a fireball, and she melts away into ash in a matter of seconds, her steaming remains splashing onto us. "See?" Putter says with a sigh of relief, brushing the simmering ashes off of his clothes while helping me to my feet. That was too close. Far too close. I look up at the sun. That big ball of fire is the only thing known to be able to kill the unkillable. Vampires have to stay out of its light or be turned to dust, just like she was. It's a sacrifice to have to avoid sunlight for eternity, but it's a sacrifice that I would gladly make to live forever. I would happily stick to the shadows if it meant that I never had to worry about death ever again. Either I die and spend the rest of time in the darkness of death, or I get to still live in darkness. It's not a hard choice at all. I will always choose the one that lets me keep living. Putter helps me brush away some of the vampire's remains, but I push him away. I'm not angry at him. I'm just frustrated with the situation, especially with how close we just were to dying. I can't hold in my resentment anymore.
I'm so tired of this. We shouldn't have to put up with this.
Putter remains calm as ever, patting me on the shoulder.
We have to. Ambrose did that on purpose,
I grumbled through my anger.
No one is more irresponsible with creating more of their kind than him. What a waste. He's willing to turn one of his victims for fun, but people like us, people that actually deserve it, they just keep stringing us along. Patience, my friend,
Putter says, just like he always does.
They have literally all the time in the world. They're not in any rush to do anything. That's just how they are. I know that, Putt, but you and I don't have that luxury. I almost died just now because I'm still this. I'm still being dragged along on the mortal coil. Just give it time, Putter says.
Excuse me, gentlemen. We both turn toward the entrance of the alleyway. A man is standing there. His face is mostly obscured beneath the umbrella he's holding above his head. He's dressed in a fine suit and has on a scarlet necktie. When he approaches, he walks with an ethereal grace, a powerless calmness that I recognize immediately. It's another vampire. This one isn't voracious and out of their mind like the woman that just got caught in the daylight. No, he is much more like the ones I'm used to dealing with, the ones that have had centuries to understand their own poise and strength. He also apparently understands that he can't let sunlight touch his skin, considering the umbrella in his hand on a perfectly sunny day.
I have something for you,
the man says beneath the rim of his umbrella. He reaches a gloved hand into his suit jacket and pulls out a small card. He hands it to me before taking a step back. Putter looks over my shoulder as I turn over the card to read it. 3 lines are written out in the card in beautiful penmanship. The family wishes to speak with you. The Penthouse. After dusk. I look up to ask the messenger for clarity, but he is already walking away down the alleyway, the top half of his body still hidden by the umbrella he holds over his shoulder. He calls back to us.
Enjoy the rest of your day, gentlemen. We will see you tonight.
An invitation from the council isn't normal. They usually speak through others, or they speak in casual encounters, like the discussion with Ambrose in his place of business. To be directly summoned to meet them in person is strange. It has to be for something important. Putter and I exchange glances. He looks just as nervous as I am.
What do you think?
He asks.
Well, we have to go,
I say, knowing that refusing an invitation from our employers is an insult to them.
I'm just trying to figure out what they would want to talk to us about.
Putter frowns, wiping his hand over his face.
It could be a number of things. It could be that Ambrose was angry about your conversation that he let on, and he is getting the family involved.
I hope that's not the case. Maybe I was too defiant toward Ambrose, but that guy deserves to have some pushback now and again to remind him that he can't just walk all over his own people. I shouldn't have said anything to him. I should have just continued to be respectful. I hope I didn't sign our death warrants by talking back to him. Putter suggests another option, glancing back down the alleyway where some stray ash sits on the ground.
Or maybe they found out that we just killed one of their own.
My mind races with sudden fear at the thought that we could be punished for protecting ourselves from a feral vampire.
We were only defending ourselves. That girl was freshly turned. I doubt they would care that we had to take her out. And besides, that just happened. So how would they even know?
Putter shrugged.
They have eyes everywhere. You know that.
My partner was right, like he usually was. We might have just made enemies of our employers and ruined any chance of ever standing among them. Panic immediately starts to set into my whole body, but Putter places a firm hand on my shoulder.
Don't worry about it until we have to,
Putter says with a forced smile.
The only way that we're going to know why they want to talk to us is to go have a chat. So let's finish up here, and then we'll go to them, just like they want. You're right, Bud.
I take some calming breaths.
You're right.
We make sure the sharp Thorn is spotless. The club looks like it never saw anything out of the ordinary inside of its walls. No one will ever suspect the truth about all of those people that will have just gone missing after a night in the town. Thanks to our efforts, there's no trace of them or any evidence suggesting otherwise. We make sure that it's our proudest effort, because depending on how the night goes, it could be our last. Night falls over the city, illuminating us in the window lights of the skyscrapers above as we drive into the heart of downtown. I look out at the sidewalk and can see the vampires of the city beginning their evening. The streets are as crowded as ever, but in the bustle of the metropolis, no one notices when people are snatched by immortal beasts. I only see it because I know what to look out for. People are pulled into dark alleys, thrown into vehicles, or seduced by charming strangers just waiting to take a bite out of them. I'm glad I'm not one of those unsuspecting victims. I'm glad that I'm aware of the truth, and maybe someday I'll be one of those predators grabbing their evening drink. It all depends on how this meeting goes. I can't help how nervous I am. After so much hard work, we might have made some massive missteps today that could ruin everything. I might have to kiss my dreams of eternal life goodbye. Hopefully, our bosses weren't too upset with our work, not after doing such a good job for so long. The Cardinal Vampire family operates out of a perfectly normal apartment complex in Manhattan. At least, it looks normal to the outside world. Every single room is occupied by a member of their family, and the top floor penthouse is where they maintain their seat of power. When we step up to the entranceway, the two pale doormen stop us for a moment. They smile at us with sharp grins, making sure their fangs are shown. They stare at us like we are slabs of meat instead of people.
Are you lost?
One of them asks.
No,
I say, as confidently as I can.
We were invited to come here tonight by the heads of the Cardinal family.
I show them the card that was given to us. They exchange visible, amused glances and then step aside, waving us through. We walk across the blood-red carpets of the lobby, where dark silhouettes linger in the darker corners of the room, watching us with hungry gazes. We might as well be drops of blood in the middle of a shark tank. I breathe a little easier once we step into the elevator. We share a moment alone as the lift carries us toward whatever awaits us on the top floor. It might be our last chance to actually have a conversation. If we are going to be punished, it could be the end of our lives.
It's been an honor, Pud, I say. Couldn't have asked for a better partner for this work.
Putter nods beside me, staring up at floor numbers being shown as we keep moving higher and higher.
Likewise, my friend.
We step out into the top penthouse of the building. It's dimly lit, and all of the blinds on the windows are closed. There are large shapes in the darkness, right in front of us, suspended from the ceiling. I take a step toward one of those shapes, and the bottom of that mass of shadow suddenly starts to speak.
Beautiful night, isn't it?
I realize what I'm looking at. All of these shapes dangling from above are vampires hanging upside down. They're all watching us and all grinning with their sharp fangs. In unison, they all drop and land on their feet until they are surrounding us. Every last one of them is so refined in their expensive clothes, but it's the aura of absolute power that permeates the room. If they want to kill us, we won't stand any chance at all of fighting back or even trying to escape. Even if we could reach the elevator, which I highly doubt, there are 60 floors of vampires beneath us. There's no way that we will ever make it back outside. And even if we can get that far, the sun just set and isn't going to come to our rescue for a very long time. They can apparently sense our mounting fears.
Relax.
The leader steps forward, and I recognize him as Augustus Cardinal. He is tall, broad, and bald, but it isn't his physicality that frightens me. The one word he spoke forces my whole body to freeze and obey. He is the head of his brood for a reason. He resonates complete dominance over everyone around him. They say that he has been alive for millennia, and standing in his presence, I believe that. I hear someone snicker and see Ambrose Cardinal standing behind him, apparently enjoying our obvious uneasiness.
You don't need to be afraid,
Augustus says.
Do you know why you are here?
Putter and I both shake our heads. Augustus smiles.
This is an initiation.
I've been waiting to hear those words for so long. There's nothing I've ever wanted more than getting to live forever as the pinnacle of what a person could become. I won't have to dispose of any more corpses or clean up any more bloody entrails. I will have people that will do that for me instead, while I get to do whatever I want in life. The world will just be endless possibilities for the rest of time. I can feel my eyes welling up with tears. I will finally be able to stand among them instead of beneath them. Augustus cuts his hand open with one of his long nails and clenches his fist, letting his blood fill the chalice in his other hand. Once I drink that, I will be just like him. I will have real power and real influence to give myself the life that I have only ever been able to dream of. The vampire leader holds out the chalice of blood, but when he extends his arm, he doesn't offer it to me. He presents it to my partner.
It's time.
Now you will be one of us. My dream is finally coming true, but then he finishes speaking.
Welcome to eternity, Butter. Always. Forever.
I must have misheard him. There is no possible way he meant that Putter would be turned before me. I can't hold in my surprise, and it slips right out of my mouth before I can catch it.
Butter? There has to be a mistake. What about me?
Augustus raises a brow.
What about you?
Ambrose snickers to my left, clearly enjoying my misfortune. Maybe I should have made more efforts to work with him, but I just can't stand him, even now, when my whole world is falling apart around me. I point my finger at the family of vampires. I'm so angry that I don't even see them as the terrifying beasts that they really are. They are just my employers, people that have wronged me and disrespected me. They are spitting in my face after I have given them all that I can.
After everything that I have done for you, after so many years, I want what I was promised.
Another of the members behind Augustus, a man I recognize as the infamous and ancient Dario, speaks.
We never made a promise. You were told that if you proved yourself, you would be given the ultimate reward. All you did was prove yourself to be entitled and arrogant. You treated each job as if it was just a stepping stone, instead of just being grateful that we allow you to live. We have not been impressed.
Ambrose shrugs, but can't stop grinning.
We don't owe you anything.
I turn to Putter. Maybe if we can stand up to them together, we can convince them that we are both worthy of being turned. He doesn't look at me. No, it's worse than that. It's like he's completely ignoring my existence. It's like I don't matter anymore. Putter doesn't say a word to me when he takes the chalice of blood and puts it to his lips, gulping it all down. The vampires all suddenly start applauding in unison. It's like they want me to see and hear how pleased they are. It should be me. I deserve that immortality, not him. It shouldn't be quiet, meek little putt-putt. He didn't even know if immortality was worth all of the effort. I turn to the man that used to be more than a partner to me. I always think of him as a friend at least, or even some kind of brother. But now I don't know what he is. The person standing in front of me isn't the same guy that I spent every day with. Putter is different. He's not avoiding eye contact anymore. He's keeping his head raised and standing taller than I've ever seen. He's a whole new person. Or maybe who he really was all along beneath the shackles of human insecurities. He looks at me, and there is something very strange in my partner's eyes. It's a hunger. I step back, recognizing that kind of stare when I've seen other vampires look like that. Ambrose speaks, barely able to contain his laughter.
Hadn't we mentioned that when someone is reborn as one of us, their hunger is, well, it's insatiable.
I already know that, especially after the feral girl at the club that tried to kill us. I can see the same ravenous expression on his face. He doesn't see me the same way anymore either. I'm not his partner. No, he is far above me now, an entirely different species. To him, I'm just some bag of blood he wants to rip into. I keep stepping back toward the elevator shaft, away from the monsters all standing in the dark room.
Go on,
Augustus says.
have your first taste of immortality.
It should be me. I should be the one that's going to live forever. I worked so hard, but for what? Nothing. I make a run for the elevator and hear more applause behind me. They must love this. It's entertainment for them. I'm just some idiot that picked up their trash and has nothing to show for it. The elevator door opens and I hurry inside, practically punching the close button. The doors finally start to shut, but two hands block them just before they close. The metal doors are pulled back open and Putter is there, grinning at me with his new fangs. He runs his tongue along one of his pointed teeth.
You were right. This is worth it.
Putter is going to live forever. I won't. I won't live another minute. All I am now is the mess that a vampire is going to make. I wonder who they'll hire to clean it up. Thanks for listening. If you enjoy these stories, be sure to subscribe to the podcast and check out some more of my episodes here.